What if you took $50 and turned it into a multi-million dollar empire? Our guest today did exactly that. And now he's helping business owners worldwide rethink referrals, rethink culture, and rethink their own mindset. Let's get into it. Justin Herald is one of the most inspiring business builders Australia has produced. At just 25, he launched Attitude Inc., which is with $50 and grew it into a global licensing brand, turned over $30 million a year. He's been named International Entrepreneur of the Year, awarded the Future Leaders Award as one of the top 50 most influential leaders of the next generation, and is the author of 8 best-selling books. He also leads customer culture, transforming how staff deliver and understand great service. Recently, he's launched Referrals Network, a powerful referral system turning customers into your best sales team. And if that wasn't enough, Justin is one of Australia's most in-demand keynote speakers, speaking at 90 plus events every year to more than 70,000 people here and worldwide. Justin, welcome to Attention is a Currency. So great to have you on the show today.
Thanks, mate. Thanks so much.
Justin, let's rewind and let's start from the beginning. What made you believe $50 could be enough to build something real?
Honest truth, I didn't know it was going to build something real. I only started that business originally because my dad's a minister, and someone inside his church constantly told me I had an attitude problem. So the only reason I started that at the start was just to piss off the lady in my father's church. That was the whole purpose of it. And I didn't have the $50. I only had $1.25. I had to borrow the $50. And all I wanted to do was upset that lady by putting the slogan on the back of a T-shirt was "I love my attitude problem." Got 4 shirts made up, sold 3 of those to 3 of my mates so they could also help me upset her on the following Sunday. And then on that day, people come up and said, "I love your shirt. Can I buy one?" And so my 3 shirts I sold could make 6, and sold those 6 could make 12, 24, 48, and it sort of just took off. And, I'm a massive believer in there's a lot of people who will never actually achieve business success because they overthink it at the start. And they try and put all the scenarios in there. Well, what if it doesn't work? But what if it does work is my whole theory.
Yeah. Well, was that moment when you realized that Attitude Inc. was more than just the brand that you expanded into? Or it's...
Yeah, well, because I got it into some stores after a while, some surf stores and stuff like that. And then constantly I had these surf stores not take the brand at the start because their comments were to me, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, was, "We've never heard of your brand, so we won't take it because we haven't heard of it." And I thought, well, how the hell are you supposed to hear about it if I can't tell you about it? Like, it makes no sense. So I decided to go to a place here in Sydney, I'm not in Sydney anymore, but in Sydney, called Parklea Markets. I just wanted to see if it worked in the markets and if the customer or the end user liked it first, because I knew the retailer was getting in the way a little bit. And on the first day that we set up, and 9 o'clock essentially the market's open, by 9:15 we'd sold out. And so I knew then, but that was probably about 3 or 4 months into it, that I actually had something that had potential. Now, I'm glad that I launched and started this business before the internet existed. Why I'm glad that is, there is so much information that is not correct on the internet now that people take as gospel, and they end up not really pursuing any business stuff because some numbnut on some website has said, "No, that won't work," or "Here's the way you have to do it." But we didn't have that white noise in those days, so I didn't know it was going to go anywhere. And I figured the people really liked it, and it just took off. But I had no money, obviously, when I started the business, so I had no money for advertising. I had no money for marketing. I had no money for anything. And in the markets, I coined a phrase with the people that worked there, who later became my staff, and that was, "We go after our customer's customer." And that's the way that I did business. And by that, I mean, we just had to make sure any interaction we had with a customer that came into the market store was amazing, and so much so that they would go and tell other people about us.
Yeah. That's great. Well, it's great advice, and I know that you've been doing this for a very long time. I was first aware of Justin for the audience when I was a teenager and working in a magazine, and Justin was the cover, and that was over 20 years ago now.
Yeah, you can't get. I'm like mold. You can't get rid of me.
But of course, you've talked about through the work that we've done, and I've known of you for a long time. You've talked about nearly quitting many times through the work, and what sort of kept you going through those hard times? Because of course, every entrepreneur goes through those times. No money, especially when they weren't born into money and didn't have any sort of starting capital on that. What sort of yeah.
Yeah, look, I realised pretty quickly that I knew that I didn't know. And so if I knew I didn't know, that means I knew there was stuff that I didn't have a solution for. But more importantly, I didn't know what problems were going to be there. So I didn't focus on let's go and which I think, and I do a lot of business mentoring now, and I see a lot of business owners trying to find a problem. Well, if you try and find a problem, you're going to find one. So I decided not to try and look for a problem. And if something popped up that sort of threw me a little bit left of center, then I just assumed that that was going to be the case anyway. So I assumed that it was going to be difficult. I assumed it was going to be slow. I assumed people were going to say no. So because I assumed that, then I just realized if that started to happen, well, this is just part of the process. And I think these days people get shocked when things don't work, but I didn't think it was going to work in the first place. So to me, it was easier to get around that problem. The other thing that I didn't do, which I see people making a massive mistake on these days, I never set a timeline. I didn't say in 5 years' time I want to be here because what happens if I can get there in 2 months? Or what happens if it takes me 10 years? So maybe my time expectations are the things that are limiting me more so than assisting me and pushing me to that goal. So, but I did business my way, and there'll be people out there listening to this go, I wouldn't do it your way. Well, you're not me and I'm not you. So same old, same old. So you just got to, go with and back yourself for what you know you can do. And for me, I just knew that there's an old saying, you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. My theory is you can if you force it. So that's all I did.
I think that well, it's like you said about all the noise online. I think people expect it to be easy now, is because every ad or every post you see come out, everyone's making $100,000 a month in the first day and so on, and not expecting any issues. So in the early days of attituding, what sort of made it stand out when you first launched it? What was sort of a key standout that attracted?
Look, back when I started that, like clothing brands these days are a lot different to what they were before. So in my day, back in the late 90s and then the 2000s, the consumer was very much brand loyal. So they really did stick behind a brand they loved, and we just found that they loved Attitude. They loved Attitude for a few reasons. Number one, and I don't mean to sound like a wanker here, but they liked the bloke behind it. That was one of the main reasons that people backed it. I had a lot of media attention around me purely based upon the fact that I started a business with nothing, and it became quite successful pretty quickly. But the media loved me because I was that Aussie rat bag and didn't change anything, especially when I was doing interviews. And it wasn't a made up thing to be like that. It's just, the one person I'm very good at being is me. So I just decided to continue with that whole process. So they liked the bloke behind it. They loved the product. For me, quality is paramount. And so they liked the product, but then what the product stood for. So Attitude started off originally as, the word attitude when I started was always a negative thing. It was always followed with the word problem back in those days. And where I saw attitude is, it's you get off your rear end and give it a crack type thing. So we created, the Attitude started off as a slogan-based T-shirt company, and there was only one other one in the world that was doing that at the time, which was a brand called No Fear. And No Fear were very American rah-rah slogans, and I just want to do Australian sarcastic slogans, and Australians are very sarcastic, and I'd rather take the piss out of myself before someone else does. And the consumer loved that. And I had this conversation with a new client the other day who's trying to bring out something that was very on edge, very edgy. And for me, not only did I want the teenager or the early 20s to buy my product, I also had to make sure that it actually wasn't offensive to the parent of those people who would buy for them as well. So, it's quite easy these days. And, you look at anything online now that they're selling and the F bomb gets dropped, the C bomb gets dropped, everything gets dropped. And I thought, well, it's not a market that I want to go after because it's a very limiting market. So, yeah, and that's, I think, why it was successful. And people did just get behind the bloke. And that's which I'm glad, because the one thing that's made me do, not that I think I'd be any different, it's just made me very grounded over the last 30 years. So, I'm probably a lot more, well, a lot less as in your face as I used to be. But yeah, I think that's why it worked.
You definitely redefined the message on that. And back then it would have been a bit more difficult, but how did you take sort of the local idea and actually make it global success? It definitely wasn't as easy as it is now to reach so many people, but there's a...
No, it was a lot harder back in those days. I was talking to someone yesterday about this. Even with like the trademark back in the olden days, to get a trademark in America, I had to have an office in America. I had to go to America. I had to do all of this sort of stuff. Now you just click a button on the trademarks thing and you can go and get it global straight away. So it was a lot more difficult. But as I said before, I didn't know that wasn't the way it was supposed to be anyway. So I just figured, well, this is the way we get it done. Overseas. The overseas market loved the brand because it was so Aussie and because it was so wasn't in your face, but just the sarcasm. The world loves Australian sarcasm. They're not used to it. The Americans loved it. Uh, Canadians loved it. Europe loved it. It was just one of those things that, right. And I had a Muppet the other day say the only reason I was success is because I was lucky. Well, I'm glad that luck has lasted me 30 years. And even if it was luck at the time, I just took that luck and manufactured more luck, if you want to look at it that way, or manufactured a business out of it.
Yeah. Well, my next question was around crediting one factor for scaling so quickly, but I imagine it was your guts to just go for it.
Well, I didn't know that. Yeah, so I didn't realise, because it was I think my second or third year, I had a meeting with the accountant, and he goes, "Oh, it's a massive year for you." And I said, "Oh, is it?" Because I had no clue. And he goes, "Oh, yeah." He said, "I've never seen a business go like this." I said, "Really?" I said, this is how business would go?" I didn't know. So the only thing I passed in school was recess. So I wasn't really setting myself out to be a business person. Back in those days, being even the word entrepreneur wasn't really used that often back in those days. So it wasn't a thing. So it scaled pretty quickly. I just figured that, well, I'm an analogy guy, but my theory right at the start of that, when it started to grow, was like, the analogy for me was like going to the photocopier and putting a piece of A4 paper and clicking the A3 button, because I just wanted the same thing but bigger. And that's all I did. I thought, well, that's all I got to do, is the formula of what the brand is and the way I do the brand's fine. That's right. And to make it bigger, I just got to go bigger. There wasn't a great deal of thought into it. But no one really said in those days you can't.
That's a great message around there, because I think everyone's got a yardstick out at the moment. They see somebody miles ahead, but you weren't doing the yardstick thing and saying, "Oh, that person's built this time." It's you versus you. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the other thing too, and I think people fall into this a lot more these days than ever before, but comparing yourself against some random online as to what they've apparently achieved because they're sitting in front of a Ferrari on a jet doesn't necessarily mean that they actually have achieved anything. And my little saying to myself, I've had for nearly 30 years, it's none of my business what people think of me. So, have I achieved a level of success? Yes. Is that anyone else's business? No. It's my success, and that's where you won't go online and see any of my stuff other than my ute, that I love my ute, because the reason I love my ute, I can park it anywhere when I go out. But besides that, you won't see anything else, because it's no one else's business of what I've achieved, and I don't live my life to make other people think that I'm unreal. As long as my kids and my wife think I'm okay, and the dogs, then I'm pretty chuffed with that.
Well, let's let's move over to your customer culture business as well, because you're the managing director of customer culture now. What's the biggest gap you see in how businesses treat customers?
That's an easy one. What stopped happening inside a lot of businesses, and this is probably for the last 5 to 10 years, is they've stopped training their staff. They employ people based upon what's written on the resume. I've never looked at a resume when I've employed someone. Because as if you're going to say, I really suck at customer service on there. You're just going to tell me what you think I need to hear. I will employ based on personality. I can teach you skill. If you don't have personality, there is no point even working for me, right? So they've stopped training. And this is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen happen with business owners. They go, I'm going to get some random person in and employ them, and then give that random person over to all of my customers that generate income for me and go, here you go, give it your best shot. Like, that is the last thing that I'm going to be doing inside my business, because weirdly, it's my business, my rules. So I need my staff to understand what my rules are and the expectations my customers need to have on what we provide. And the only way that we can exceed our customers' expectations is we need to know what their expectations are in the first place. So I need to train that into my staff. And it's not train once a year and hopefully they get it and remember it. It's training consistently. And because culture is not something that we can just pretend we have, culture is created by the sum parts of everyone in it. So if we've got multiple people not doing the right thing, then our culture is screwed.
Yeah. Well, that's where you talk a lot about it's crucial to understand why they serve and not just how. And that's really
Yeah, well, there's got to be a reason for coming to work. And unfortunately, since, 5 years ago, someone licked a button and the whole world was thrown into chaos. But since then, it seems like companies and businesses, and it can be a small business, could be a large business, but they've just gone, you know what, let's just not upset our staff by training them because that might, put them out of their comfort zone. Absolutely. It should be out of their comfort zone, because without that customer being happy, then we don't make money. And if we don't look after our customers, someone else is going to. So we, as business owners, we need to actually take the reins back and go, you know what, if my business needs to grow the way I want it to grow, which means I need to train my staff in that.
You speak to tens of thousands of people every year as well. What themes do people sort of resonate most when you take the stage?
I've I only know this because it's been said to me for probably 25 years, but people like my style. And I'm not, didn't know I had a style. There's a lot, it's a thing now. People want to become a speaker. I don't get it. But, and I was asked 26 years ago, I was asked to speak at a conference, and I thought, oh, I've got no idea what I'm going to say. And I got there and they said, oh, where's your PowerPoint presentation in your slides? And I went, don't have any. And I turned up in jeans, Converse, and a T-shirt. And they said, are you getting changed in before you get up? And I go, into what? And they said, oh, your keynote outfit. And I'll go, is there such a thing? So I didn't know, right? But I got up on stage and I just chatted. For me, there's that theory that, if you get nervous on stage, you just pretend everyone's naked. I don't want to see people naked. Last thing I want to see. But I actually pretended when I started that I was in a pub having a yarn. And that was great. And it was one of those things that for the last 26 years I've been asked time and time and time again to come back or to speak at conferences. And people, the audience just like the fact I'm not talking at them. I'm talking to them. I'm going to not, there's many times that I've sat in a conference being the next speaker to get up, and I've had to say to myself inside my head, I have no idea what that person's talking about. There was no take-home value. There was no solving a problem. There was nothing I could apply as a human being into my either personal life or business life. So I want to make sure that I leave good quality content with people that is usable. And also the main thing I don't want to do is make people think that I'm better than them, because we all say this the nice way, but we all shower the same way. So there's no difference in it all. And I want people to understand that success is not a dollar figure at all. And success is just about, how you go about doing your life. And whether that is a business owner that's listening to this right now that's struggling, your success is paying, I get it, is paying your next bill. that's what you aim at, and that's what we all need to just go for. And I want to make sure when I'm on stage that comes across, and I want to make people laugh too.
Yeah. No, it's that's your unapologetic, just you style, which spans through all of your brands.
I am who I am.
And also, if people, what sort of events are you speaking at most at the moment? If people want to book you for an event,
Mainly corporate events. So I do a lot of, so probably about 70% of my speaking is corporate events. About 25% of is small business events. So whether they're councils or chamber of commerce or networking, some networking events. Or small business events, and then the other 5% is speaking at staff retreats or staff meetings and stuff like that. So I get asked a lot lately, and I just created it because there was a demand for it to do a lot of staff pre-meeting, pre-work staff meetings. Most of them are done via Zoom now, but yeah. So just so because businesses have realised that as the owner, they can go and tell their staff the same thing day after day or week after week. But if someone else comes in and says essentially the same thing, they go, "Wow, that's amazing!" So I get a lot of requests for that as well.
well, we're going to make sure we have a link in the description as well to book Justin in. And with so much success behind you, what makes you keep building now? Because you're still looking for the next thing. Because we're going to move on to talking about refer us shortly, but you're always on to the next.
Um, yeah, I
thing.
don't know. All my businesses I start because I'm pissed off. I've realised that's my little trigger.
Oh,
I was upset with the lady who said I had an attitude problem. I started customer culture because I'm sick and tired of bad service. I launched Junior Entrepreneur, which teaches 13 to 20-year-olds how to start a business and will take an idea into a business because I look at what's happening with even my own kids at the schooling system and go, you're getting taught nothing that's going to be useful in future. So getting upset is probably my trigger. And I look at, and so with Refer Us, I look at people in businesses spending a shitload of money on marketing and all this sort of stuff, and you go, hang on, are you actually tapping into your current customers? Are you? And the answer is no. And I go, okay, well, there's an idea. For me, I just can't sit there and do nothing. I mean, I could, but I get pretty bored, and so I just like doing stuff.
and how do you stay sharp and keep evolving? What's because
I don't know, mate. I don't know if I'm sharp. I'm a have a crack guy. So, the one thing I don't do when I start businesses is I don't spend a great deal of money setting them up. The reason I don't do that, one was by default at the start because I had no money and that worked. So the second business I had, I thought, well, if the first way worked, I may as well continue doing it that way. But the main reason I don't spend a great deal of money setting them up is because if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. But if I spend 100 grand on setting something up and it doesn't work, it sort of matters. So yeah, I don't know. Being sharp, it's just I've figured out a long time ago that I'm pretty good at this business stuff, and so and I get offers all the time for people asking me to come and work for them, and sometimes the money's very good, but I sit there and go, oh, what? I've got to sit in an office and I've got to do some planning sort of. I got to do any of that stuff. So I just like the freedom of being my own boss. So, which means I need to keep on evolving.
yeah, that's it. Well, what would you say to someone who feels stuck and wants to reinvent themselves, sort of mid-career as well? Because there's a lot of people that are feeling sort of stuck in the.
Yeah, well, first of all, follow your passion. It would be the main thing. And, I do a lot of sessions with people who have got this an idea so they can get out of corporate and go into running their own business. But it's just an idea and it's not a passion. So the reality is, going from corporate into running your own business, there's going to be a lot of things that are different. Number one, no one else is paying your bill. Number two, you don't have the luxury of finishing at 5 o'clock. It's going to be hard work, and so you've got to be prepared for that. Will you make money in the first year? Probably not. Hope you do, but most probably not. So there's all those sort of things that you need to take in consideration. But I think for me, frustration is a tool. It's not a negative. So if you're getting frustrated, then that could be a sign that maybe there's something else. Personally, I'd start something on the side before quitting your job, just to see if it's got merit. But that's just because I think that's the smartest way to do it.
A bit of safety net saves on the stress a bit, I guess, for most that aren't seasoned entrepreneurs that can take those sort of ups and downs.
Yeah, it's ebbs and flows, you know. So, I'm probably the most surprised person on the planet that things that I do work. Everyone else seems to think that everything I do should work. I don't think that. So, some things have worked, some things have not worked. But the ones that haven't worked, it's just part of the part and parcel of going, okay, well, there's a lesson, move on. My favourite four-letter word is next. So I don't actually sit there too long and wait for stuff. I just keep on moving.
Yeah. That's it. Well, we're onto your new venture as well, which is exciting. So let's dive into Refer Us. What sparked the idea, and what problem does it solve?
Yeah, that one was an easy one. So when I started Attitude, as I said, I had no money, so I really had to rely on word of mouth to grow my business, and it did. And that's why, like for the last 31 years now, I haven't spent a single cent on advertising or marketing. So word of mouth has really grown my business for that long. And word of mouth needs to be one of your major parts of your marketing strategy. Now, most people in business will go, yeah, oh, yeah, people talk about us. And that is correct. My theory, when I ask them who's actually talking about you, no one can tell me. And so with Phil, my business partner, we sat down, and what I wanted is word of mouth to be instant, and the referral to be instant. Because how it normally works, right? You're sitting at the barbecue, and someone says, "Oh, does anyone know a good plumber?" And someone will go, "Yeah, I've got a mate. He's great." And then what they'll say is, "Oh, when I get home, I'll send you all his details." Hour goes by, you're having your sausage sandwich, you're drinking your beer, you then drive home, you get home, you have a shower, you sit on a lounge, watch TV, totally forget to send that plumber's details to the person that was looking for it. The other problem with that is the plumber doesn't even know you were just talking about him. So
Mm.
what we wanted to do was just totally obliterate that whole process. So now with Refer Us, because it sits on your mobile phone, you're sitting at the barbecue and someone says, "Oh, do you know anyone know a plumber?" Now, if the plumber is a Refer Us business, all you do is go, "Yeah, actually, I've got a plumber that I can refer you to." You open up in the middle of that conversation while it's happening instantly, and put that person's name, number, and email address into the system for the plumber. It sends the plumber off all those details, and the person that you've just referred to the plumber instantly gets sent the details of the plumber. So now the referrer is out of the equation, because most of the time the referrer is the one that screws up the sale. And this happens to me all the time. I'll get, and it's constantly, weekly, I'll get phone calls from people going, "So and so," which I don't know who they are, "referred you to be a great speaker at our conference." And it happened a little while ago, and I say, "And apparently you're really good about talking about systems." I go, "Nope, that is not me." So what they've been told, the referrer's told this person the wrong information. So what we want to do is get that referrer out of the equation as quickly as possible, so we can connect business to the new client. So when they get a referral, it's now a hot lead. It's not a cold lead.
Yeah, well. What do you think so many businesses still ignore referrals even in 2025? I know I get many, and this is a definitely. I'm always told people, I was telling so and so about you the other day. I can't remember. I don't have their details or anything, but so this is definitely a
Yeah,
so
I think the main reason is because it's so simple. I think people think it needs to be harder than what it actually is.
yeah.
For me, if people are my salespeople are my customers are my greatest salespeople. They're my greatest sales force. And if they love what we do as a business, they will be talking about us, and they are talking about us. All I want to know is, when are you talking about us, and can I get in on that conversation as soon as that's happening? And that's all short circuited that whole thing. But I think businesses are now starting, especially with this cost of living garbage that's going on. And then I've done a rant post that's going to come out on Facebook on this afternoon. But with the government's not actually been able to govern correctly, and businesses is struggling, and consumers are struggling, businesses are going to sit there at some point in time really soon and go, are we actually doing the basics in our business? And they're going to have to go back to basics. And one of those basics is, are people talking about your business without you having to spend a fortune on marketing? And even if you do spend a fortune on marketing, people are still going to talk about your business, but how do you know they're doing that? And that's all we wanted to do. And the other thing we wanted to do is make sure that this was a bit of a no-brainer when it came to businesses going, oh, I wouldn't mind giving that a crack. So it's $375 a year for the whole system. And you can get as many referrers as you want for free. So it's one of those things that people go, well, and that's what's happened. People go, well, I'll give this a try for $375. All you need is one referral for the year. You're going to pay your system off. No, I get on average probably about 2 or 3 referrals a month, and people go, "Oh, that's not many." Well, my fees anywhere, between 7 to 10 grand to speak on stage.
Yeah.
Pretty happy with 30 odd grand a month from people. Like, I don't need to have a plethora of referrals coming in because there's only so much work I can do anyway. But the other thing we wanted to do is also, which we've done with this, when people that have got the referral system, like the referrers, they are more tapped into the conversation than when someone starts talking. They already know that there's a referral system sitting on their mobile phone. And so they are more aware and more likely to actually speak up and go, I've got someone I can actually connect to you guys now.
Yeah, well, it's also very common through Facebook groups and everything because it is a link you can drop out to someone to say, hey, because I see it all the time. I manage over 100,000 Aussies across my buy, sell, and community groups, and you see it all the time. Somebody posts up looking for a good real estate agent. Where's the local plumber? Where's the local electrician? And you could be just dropping your links. I can just see it coming over time that everyone will just be dropping out their referral links as they're referring it instead of just saying, oh, here's the details.
Yeah, well, the other thing that we created and I wanted to do is most businesses, the one thing they don't have is reach. So they might have a great business, but not many people know about them, a visibility problem. So one thing we created is why we called it the network, is on the website, the businesses that refer us businesses. Now, some people opt, and I think I spoke to you about this the other day,
Yes.
some people, for some reason, opt not to have their business publicly listed.
Yeah.
Don't understand it, but anyway, each their own. But anyway, you can have your business publicly listed. So now what's happening, you're at the barbecue, someone says, oh, does anyone know a good real estate agent on the Gold Coast? What's going to happen now, what is already happening, people are going to go straight to Refer Us Network, go to that page, find, is there a Gold Coast real estate agent on Refer Us? If there is, they can instantly become their referrer for free and send that referral to someone. And because you set up a referral reward, mine is 10% of my fee for my speaking fee. So if someone refers me to get a speaking job and I get the speaking job, they're going to walk away with pretty good coin for just giving me the name. And the reason people then don't send me random referrals is because there's a reward involved. So if there's no one, if they send me a name and they're not looking for a speaker, then they're not going to obviously get the reward. So and so what we're seeing now is people are starting to refer for people's refer businesses that they've never actually ever dealt with before, but they know that they refer us business and they can click the ticket. So they're being rewarded to help someone grow their business.
Definitely, and real estate agents can be quite generous in their to give a slice off the commission on those properties.
100%.
Yeah, no, definitely, and all the businesses are very valid because more incomes is always good. For also, where do you see it going in the next 12 to 18 months? What's the? I know that you don't really. You don't have those expectations before.
Yeah, no, I don't. Oh, look, we are starting to go global now, which is great. So we launched it in January. We've got over 900 users, well, more than that now. We had 900 users pretty quickly. And so it's just one of those things that we're just now getting contacts from people all over overseas all the time. And so that's just where it's going to go. Like for me, I'm just hanging on for the ride. My business partner probably is a little bit more of the planning type guy, and that's why we're great business partners in it.
Yeah. No, I had a great chat to him yesterday. He's very driven for it. He's going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a phenomenal venture, and I love that fact that I can get involved and help you guys refer some more people into it as well. And this is our signature close question for the interview, which we ask at the end of each one. So this is the most important question as we turn it into a reel on there. So Justin, if attention is the currency, what should people stop wasting it on and start investing it in?
Stop wasting your time and your attention on what other people are doing and what they're achieving, and start investing time in what you can achieve for yourself. Because if you don't back your own ambition and your own dream, you can't expect anyone else to.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Justin. It's been powerful hearing how you've built not just a business, but a movement. Listeners, if you want to go deeper, check out justinherald.com for everything from his books to customer culture. We'll drop out more links as well to the Referrals Network. And if you're running an event and need an amazing keynote speaker that's highly experienced, knows exactly what he's doing. He's gonna be the star of the show. I believe the Pepsi CEO said that he was the best speaker they've ever had, who will challenge, inspire, and entertain. You can also book Justin through the link in the description as well. Thank you again, Justin, and we'll see you all on the next episode of Attention is the Currency.
No problems, mate. Thanks for having me.